I was supposed to spend that evening alone with takeout, the Braves game on low volume, and absolutely nobody needing anything from me. Instead, I ended up in my neighbor's basement with a wrench in my hand. "Lily, are you home? Please say yes. There's water coming from somewhere under my stairs, and I don't know if this is a towel problem or a sell the house problem." I stared at the message for maybe 2 seconds before I set my unopened food container on the counter. "Me, on my way. Don't touch anything electrical. Put towels down if you can. Lily, copy that. Currently standing in damp socks, questioning all my life choices." That sounded like Lily. I grabbed my tool bag from the mudroom, shoved a flashlight into the side pocket, and crossed the yard between our houses. It had rained earlier, so the grass was soft under my boots, and June, her golden retriever, started barking before I even reached the side gate. "I'm Owen, 35. I run a small repair and renovation business in Richmond, Virginia, which is a fancy way of saying people call me when something in their house stops behaving. Pipes, drywall, porch steps, cabinets, old doors that stick every August. Houses make sense to me. Something breaks, you trace it back, find the source, and fix what failed. People are harder. After my divorce, I built my life around things I could control. Work schedule, clean truck, tools back in the right drawer, coffee at 6, dinner alone most nights. I told myself quiet was peace, and some days that was true. Other days it was just quiet. Lily had moved in next door about 8 months earlier with a moving truck, 3 mismatched chairs, a golden retriever who thought everyone existed to love her, and the tired smile of someone trying to start over without making a big speech about it. I knew about the broken engagement because Mrs. Delgado across the street knew everything, and because Lily herself told me one Saturday when I helped her get a dining table through a doorway that was half an inch too narrow. "Turns out," she had said, pushing her hair back with the heel of her hand, "it's easier to return a ring than a custom oak table." I laughed, and she laughed too, but not like it was actually funny. After that, the neighbor stuff started. I fixed her porch light. She brought over banana bread. I lent her my ladder. She returned it with coffee from the place I liked because she had somehow noticed the cup in my truck. I let June out once when Lily got stuck with a client across town. Then it happened again. Then June started acting like my porch was a second home. None of that was strange. The strange part was how quickly I started listening for her car in the driveway. When I got to her side door, Lily opened it before I knocked. She was barefoot, holding a bath towel like she was ready to wrestle the house into behaving. Her dark hair was clipped up badly, with loose pieces stuck to her cheek, and her socks were in a wet pile by the door. "You came fast," she said. "You led with water under stairs. That gets priority." I almost sent a photo, but it was mostly blurry flooring and my own fear. "Good call. I bill extra for emotional photography." She gave me that quick smile of hers, the one that always made me look away half a second too late. "Basement's this way," she said. June is offended she's not invited. June stood behind the baby gate in the kitchen, tail whipping back and forth, looking deeply betrayed. "Sorry, June," I told her. "Union rules. No dogs near mystery leaks." Lily led me through the hall to the basement door. The air changed as soon as she opened it. Damp wood, old concrete, that sharp little smell of water where water should not be. I clicked on my flashlight and followed her down. Her basement was the kind most Richmond houses of a certain age seem to have. Low ceiling, narrow steps, brick foundation, old shelves, paint cans left by 3 owners who all believed beige was a personality. A bare bulb hung near the stairs, but it flickered like it was also nervous. "There," Lily said, pointing under the stair stringer. It started as a little trickle, then became a tiny indoor creek. Tiny indoor creek is never ideal. I thought designers were supposed to love water features. Not when they come from behind a wall. I crouched near the line and ran the light along the pipe. Copper supply line. Old fitting. A clean split just past the joint, spraying a thin stream against the underside of the stairs. Not the worst I'd seen, but enough to ruin a floor if ignored. "Okay," I said. "Good news is your house is not asking to be sold." Thank God. I was not emotionally prepared to stage this place again. Bad news is this section's cracked. I can stop it tonight, but I'll need to replace the bad run tomorrow. Tonight sounds amazing. Tomorrow sounds like a problem for future Lily. I reached back into my bag. "Shutoff's over here?" "I think so." "The red handle? Or is that the one that launches the basement into space?" Let's hope red handle. She laughed, but she stayed close while I turned the valve and watched the spray weaken, then stop. The sudden quiet made the basement feel smaller. I worked the fitting loose, dried the pipe, and started putting together a temporary patch. Lily stood beside me with the flashlight, holding it steady except for when June barked upstairs and made her jump. Sorry, she said. You're doing fine. I'm mostly here for moral support and to hand you things with confidence. Hand me the pipe clamp. She looked into the open tool bag. There are at least 6 objects in here that could be a pipe clamp. The small metal one with rubber inside. She picked it up and handed it over. For the record, that description was very attractive. I paused for half a second longer than I should have. Plumbing language does it for you. Competence does it for me, she said, and then looked down like she had surprised herself. That was the problem with Lily. She said things directly enough that I never knew where to put my hands, my eyes, or the thoughts that followed. I cleared my throat and focused on the pipe. For a few minutes, it was just the two of us under the stairs, the flashlight beam, the soft creak of the house above us, and her standing close enough that I could smell rain on her sweater. She handed me a screwdriver before I asked for it, then a towel. Then the flashlight shifted, and her knee bumped my arm. Sorry, she said again. No problem. But it was a problem. Not the knee, not the basement, not even the way she looked at me when she thought I was focused on the repair. The problem was that we had been doing this for months. Porch lights, borrowed tools, coffee, June, small excuses, easy jokes, her leaning on the fence at dusk while I washed sawdust off my hands. Me pretending not to notice when she wore my old sweatshirt back across the yard after borrowing it during a storm. It had all stayed just harmless enough. Until that basement. I tightened the clamp, checked the seal, then slowly opened the valve again. The pipe gave one small hiss, then held. No spray, no shine of new water. I ran my fingers underneath and came away dry. You're safe for tonight, I said. But don't run the washing machine, and don't let June open a plumbing business down here. Lily let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it since the text. You're my favorite neighbor. I'm your only neighbor with a wrench currently in your basement. Still counts. I packed the loose tools back into my bag and stood up too fast for the low ceiling. I missed the joist by an inch, which felt like the first lucky thing I'd done all evening. Then I turned. Lily was right there, closer than I expected, close enough that the flashlight between us pointed down at the floor, leaving her face half in shadow and half in that weak yellow basement light. She didn't step back. I should have stepped back. That was the smart thing. That was the clean thing. I had fixed the leak, told her what needed to happen tomorrow, and all I had to do was pick up my tool bag, climb those basement stairs, make one more joke at the door, and go back to my cold takeout. Instead, I stood there like an idiot, holding a wrench in one hand while Lily looked at me like she had finally gotten tired of waiting for me to be brave. The basement was quiet now. No spray from the pipe. No dripping. Just the old house settling around us, and June pacing somewhere upstairs, her nails clicking across the kitchen floor. Lily glanced down at the wrench in my hand. You know, she said, most people put the tool away after the emergency is over. I was getting there. No, you were creating distance with hardware. I let out a short laugh because she wasn't wrong. I set the wrench on top of my open bag, then wiped my hands on a towel even though they were already dry. There, I said. No more hardware barrier. That's not exactly better. Her voice changed a little when she said it. Not dramatic. Not soft in some movie way. Just more honest than before. I looked toward the stairs. We should probably get you upstairs before June files a complaint. Owen. That stopped me. She didn't say my name often like that. Usually it was tossed into a joke or called across the fence. This time it landed between us. Can I ask you something? She said. I tried for a smile. Depends how dangerous the question is. It's not dangerous. People always say that before asking something dangerous. She took one small step closer instead of laughing it off. Are you trying really hard not to kiss me? She asked, looking right at me. Or am I imagining that? I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know. Because I knew too clearly. For months, I had been careful. Careful at the fence. Careful when she came over with banana bread still warm under foil. Careful when she leaned against my truck and asked about my day like she actually wanted the answer. Careful the night her power flickered during a storm and she texted me 3 times, not because she was scared, but because, as she put it, June and I are voting you head of neighborhood operations. I had told myself it was neighborly. Then I told myself it was harmless. Then I ran out of lies and just got quiet about it. Lily watched my face while I failed to find the easy version of the truth. You're not imagining it, I said. Her shoulders dropped a little, like the answer had been heavier than she expected. Okay, she said. Good. Good. Yes, good. Because I was starting to think I had invented an entire second conversation underneath every normal conversation we've ever had. I looked down and breathed out a laugh. You didn't invent it. So when I bring you coffee exactly the way you like it, not invented. And when you fix something that could have waited 3 days, but somehow happens within 1 hour, that depends on the thing. Owen, not invented, I said. She nodded slowly, but she didn't look smug. If anything, she looked relieved and a little nervous, which made me feel worse for all the months I had been acting like restraint was the same thing as kindness. So why haven't you? She asked. Kissed you? No, Owen. Joined a dance crew. Yes, kissed me. I smiled despite myself, then it faded. Because you live 27 steps from my back door. That's very specific. I counted once when I was carrying your ladder back. That is both practical and a little concerning. It's true, though. You're my neighbor. I like being your neighbor. I like that June digs under my fence like she's tunneling toward freedom. I like that you text me when my porch light is on in the middle of the day. I like that you know I take my coffee with nothing in it, and still judge me for it. I judge you silently. You do not do anything silently. She gave me a look. Fair. And if this went wrong, I said, we don't just stop seeing each other. I still see your kitchen light from my place. You still pass my truck every morning. June still looks through the fence like I personally betrayed her. Lily's eyes stayed on mine. That's the neighbor reason, she said. I nodded once. What's the real reason? I could have dodged that. A year earlier, I would have. Maybe even 6 months earlier. But not with her standing there in damp socks, in a basement that smelled like old brick and rain, asking me to stop pretending. The real reason is I'm not casual about you, I said. That did something to her expression. Not big. Her mouth parted a little, then closed again. She looked away toward the patched pipe, like she needed 1 second where I wasn't watching her hear it. When she looked back, the joke was gone. I'm not casual about you either. The words hit harder than they should have. I knew there was something between us. Of course I knew. But hearing her say it made the whole basement feel like it shifted under my boots. I reached for the towel again, then stopped myself because I had already dried my hands 3 times. Lily noticed. Of course she did. You're doing it again, she said. What? Looking for something to hold. I let my hands fall to my sides. For a second, neither of us moved. I could have kissed her then. I almost did. I leaned in just enough to know she would have let me. Her eyes dropped to my mouth, then came back up, and there was no confusion left in the room. But the basement was too tight. The night had already been too charged. And something in me knew if I kissed her down there, with the leak still fresh and the house still smelling like panic, it would feel like we got pushed into it by the emergency instead of choosing it clearly. So I stopped. Lily noticed that too. That was almost, she said. Yeah. Why not? Because I don't want our first kiss to happen while I'm standing under your stairs next to a cracked supply line. Her face softened, then she laughed quietly. That is maybe the most Owen sentence anyone has ever said. We should go upstairs. Are you inviting me out of my own basement? I'm suggesting we relocate before this turns into a hostage negotiation with plumbing. She laughed for real then, and the pressure in the room loosened just enough for me to grab my bag. Upstairs, June acted like we had been gone for 3 weeks. She shoved her head against my thigh, then sneezed on my boot. Very professional, I told her. She's emotional, Lily said. Don't shame her process. The kitchen was warm and bright compared to the basement. Lily had towels scattered near the basement door, a candle burning on the counter, and 2 mugs in the sink from earlier. It looked like a real life, not staged, not perfect. A life in motion. She opened a cabinet and pulled down 2 wine glasses. I should probably offer you water, she said, because there has been enough water tonight. Wine's fine. Her hand paused on the bottle. You don't have to stay. I know. She looked over her shoulder at me. Do you? I leaned against the counter, keeping enough space between us that it felt intentional and not scared. Yeah. She poured the wine, handed me a glass, then stood across from me at the island. Too much room now. That was the strange part. In the basement, there had been nowhere to breathe. In the kitchen, the space made everything we had said feel even louder. Lily took one sip and stared into her glass. There's something I need to tell you, she said. I felt my stomach tighten before I knew why. Okay. I got a call this morning. I waited. From a design firm in Boston. A big one. Like, the kind of firm I used to follow online and pretend I wasn't jealous of. That sounds good. It is good. She nodded, but her face didn't match the words. They want me as a senior creative lead. Hospitality projects, boutique hotels, high-end residential. Bigger clients. Bigger budget. Bigger everything. I kept my hand around the wine glass and made myself not grip it. That's a serious offer. Yeah. When would you start? They want an answer tomorrow. The kitchen went very still. Tomorrow. Not next month. Not someday. Not some vague opportunity she could think about while we figured out what we were. Tomorrow. Lily set her glass down carefully. I thought about not telling you until after I decided, she said. That would have been easier. For who? I didn't answer. She rubbed her thumb along the edge of the island. Part of why I asked you downstairs was because I needed to know if I was making up what I felt here. With me. With you, she said. With this house. This street. My weird little life that somehow started feeling less temporary when I wasn't paying attention. I looked toward the window over her sink. From there, I could see the side of my house through the dark and the rain spots on the glass. So the kiss question, I said slowly, was really a stay or go question. No. She shook her head, then sighed. Maybe. I don't know. That sounds unfair when you say it like that. I'm not saying you meant it that way. I didn't want to put that on you. But it's there now. Her eyes met mine, and all the warmth from the kitchen couldn't make that moment easy. I know, she said. I had walked into her house to fix a cracked pipe. That was simple. Shut the valve. Patch the line. Replace the bad section tomorrow. But this wasn't a leak anymore. This was Lily standing across from me with a future in one hand and whatever we were in the other, and I knew before either of us said another word that kissing her had just become the smallest part of the problem. I wanted to say the selfish thing. That was the first truth. It came up fast, before I had time to dress it up as concern or logic or anything decent. I wanted to look at Lily across that kitchen island and say, stay. Stay in Richmond. Stay next door. Stay where June barked at me through the fence every morning like I owed her rent. Stay where I could see your porch light from my back window and pretend I wasn't checking whether you made it home. But I didn't say it, because wanting something doesn't make it right to ask. Lily watched me like she knew I was fighting myself. Her wine glass sat untouched between her hands. Mine was still in my grip, though I hadn't taken more than one sip. You're quiet, she said. I'm trying not to say the wrong thing. What's the wrong thing? The easy thing. She gave a small nod, like that answer bothered her more than if I had just blurted something stupid. I set the glass down. You can't stay for me, Lily. Her face changed. Not much, but enough. I didn't say I was. I know. But it's sitting here between us now. Boston. You. Me. The almost kiss in the basement. The almost kiss has been promoted to kitchen conversation. It's got a lot of paperwork now. She almost smiled, but it didn't hold. I rested both hands on the edge of the counter. If Boston is what you want, really want, then you should take it. She looked down at the island. That sounds very mature. It feels terrible. That got her eyes back on me. Good, she said quietly. Because for a second I thought you were being noble at me. I'm trying not to be anything at you. Well, you're standing there telling me to move states like it would be no big deal. It would be a big deal. To you? Yeah, I said. To me. The room went still again, but this time it was different. Not sharp. Just full. I don't want you to go, I said. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to watch a moving truck pull up next door. I don't want to pretend I'm happy about June learning to love some Boston sidewalk. I don't want to go back to waving at a stranger over your fence. Lily swallowed. Then why are you telling me to take it? Because I know what it looks like when love turns into a place someone can't move inside. She didn't interrupt. I hadn't meant to bring up my divorce that directly. I usually kept it simple when people asked. We grew apart. It didn't work out. Clean lines. No details. Details made people either pity you or pick sides, and I never wanted either. But Lily wasn't asking for gossip. She was standing there with her whole life waiting on a phone call. My marriage didn't fall apart all at once, I said. It wasn't one big thing. It started as compromise. Normal stuff. Reasonable stuff. Don't take that job because the hours are bad. Don't go on that trip because the timing's wrong. Don't spend Saturday helping your brother because we had plans. And some of that was fair. Marriage is supposed to matter. Lily leaned against the counter, arms folded loosely. But after a while, I said, everything outside the marriage became a problem. Work I liked, friends, time alone, being tired, even being quiet. By the end, I felt like I needed permission to breathe in my own house. Her face softened, but she didn't give me that sad look people give when they want you to know they're listening extra hard. She just listened. I'm not saying she was some villain, I added. I played my part. I got smaller because it was easier than arguing. Then I got resentful because I was small. That's on me too. Lily looked at me for a long second. And you're afraid you'll do that to me. I'm afraid I'll want you badly enough to make it sound reasonable. She looked away then, toward the dark window over the sink. Rain had started again, light and steady, tapping against the glass. I moved here because I wanted quiet, she said. After Daniel and I ended things, everybody had opinions. My mother thought I should go back to Charlotte. My friends thought I should travel. Daniel thought I should keep the apartment because apparently broken engagements come with real estate advice. I didn't say anything. So I bought this house because it needed work and because nobody knew me on this street, she said. At first, quiet felt like hiding. Then it felt like healing. Then somewhere in the middle of porch paint samples and June destroying my hydrangeas and you bringing my ladder back like it was government property, she glanced at me. It started feeling like mine. I breathed out through my nose. The ladder is government property. There he is. I smiled, but only for a second. She tapped one fingernail against her glass. When Boston called this morning, I should have been thrilled. That firm is the kind of place I used to dream about when I was 25 and eating cereal for dinner in a studio apartment. Big projects, big names, clients who don't ask if we can make everything gray because they saw it online. That part alone sounds worth considering. It is. That's what's confusing. She shook her head. It's a good offer. I know it is. But when she described the role, the first thing I felt wasn't excitement. What was it? Tired. The word landed hard because it sounded so honest. Before I felt proud or curious or anything, she said, I felt tired. I pictured packing this kitchen, selling the house or renting it out, starting over again and calling it ambition because that sounds better than running. I looked at her hands, then back at her face. Maybe Boston is still the right thing, she said. But maybe it's not the dream anymore. Maybe it's just the version of me I keep trying to prove survived everything. From behind the basement door, June barked once, then twice. Loud, offended, and badly timed. Lily closed her eyes. She has no respect for emotional pacing. Honestly, she may be the healthiest one here. June barked again. Fine. Lily called toward the door. We're checking the pipe. We went back downstairs, mostly because we needed the break. Lily grabbed the flashlight this time without being asked. I followed her down, and the basement felt less charged than before, but not empty. More like the air had settled. I crouched beside the patched line and ran the light over the clamp. Dry underneath. Dry along the joint. The temporary fix was holding. It's good, I said. For tonight. For tonight. Lily stood beside me, close but not like before. This time the closeness felt chosen instead of accidental. I think I'm going to call them in the morning, she said. Ask if there's a way to do the first 6 months remote with travel. Or some kind of consulting structure. Something that doesn't require me to throw my whole life in a box by next Friday. That sounds like the right question. You think they'll go for it? I have no idea. That was not reassuring. I'm not in the habit of lying in basements. She smiled down at me. Just kitchens. Depends on the kitchen. When I stood, I kept a little more distance this time, not because I didn't want her close, but because now it mattered how we handled every inch. Upstairs, June finally got released from behind the gate and immediately shoved her head under Lily's hand, then mine, like she had personally solved the evening. At the side door, I picked up my tool bag. The rain outside had turned the yard shiny and dark. Lily stood with one hand on the doorframe. So, she said, we're not pretending that didn't matter. No. But we're also not turning it into pressure. No. She nodded. Okay. I should have left then. That would have been clean too. Instead, Lily stepped forward, and this time I met her halfway. The kiss was shorter than the one I'd been imagining for months. Calmer too. No basement panic. No kitchen deadline. Just her hand resting lightly against my chest and my hand at her waist, careful at first, then less careful when she leaned in. When we pulled apart, she smiled like she was trying not to. Permanent fix tomorrow, she said. I nodded. Permanent fix tomorrow. Then I crossed the yard in the rain with my tool bag in one hand, and my heart acting like it had gotten rewired wrong. By the time I reached my porch, I knew one thing clearly. The right kind of love doesn't ask someone to stay. Write in the comments. Was I right to tell Lily to choose Boston freely, or should I have finally admitted I wanted her to stay? It helps them figure out where they actually want to be. The next morning looked too normal for what had happened the night before. That was the first thing that struck me. The sky was pale and clear after the rain. The lawns were wet. The trash bins were still lined up at the curb, and Mrs. Delgado was already outside pretending to water flowers while actually watching the entire street. I loaded copper pipe, fittings, flux, a torch, and a handful of tools into my truck like it was any other repair job. It was not any other repair job. When I crossed Lily's yard at 8:30, June saw me through the kitchen window and lost her mind. Her front paws hit the glass once before Lily pulled her back. A second later, the side door opened. Lily stood there in jeans, a soft gray sweater, and bare feet again, because apparently the woman had no fear of cold floors. "Morning," she said. "Morning." We looked at each other for 1 second too long. Then June shoved her head between us like she was tired of subtlety. "Your assistant seems ready," I said. "She's been briefed on the pipe situation. Does she understand union rules? She requested snacks and emotional transparency." "That sounds like June." Lily smiled, but she was nervous. I could see it in how she held her coffee mug with both hands. I probably looked the same, except I had a tool bag to hide behind. She stepped aside. "Basement's all yours." I went down first. Daylight came through the small basement window near the back wall, which made everything feel less dramatic. The cracked line was still patched, still dry. The temporary repair had done its job. Lily followed with 2 coffees. "Black," she said, handing one down to me. "Because you enjoy suffering. Because I'm efficient." "Sure." I took it from her, and our fingers touched for half a second. We both noticed. Neither of us made a joke. That was new. I set the coffee on a shelf and got to work. There's comfort in a real fix. Shut off the water. Drain the line. Cut out the damaged section. Clean the ends. Measure twice because old houses love making a liar out of you. Fit the new copper. Sweat the joints clean. No guessing. No pretending. Lily sat on the bottom stair for a few minutes, watching me. Then she said, "I called Boston." My hands paused on the pipe cutter. I didn't turn around right away. I needed 1 second to make my face behave. "And they said no to full remote." I nodded slowly, still looking at the pipe. "Okay. But they offered something else," she said. 3-month consulting contract. 2 trips there, maybe 3. I'd lead the concept phase for 1 hotel project. Then they decide if they want to keep working with me, and I decide if I want to keep working with them. I turned then. She was watching me carefully. "That sounds like a good deal," I said. "It is." "And you'd stay here?" "Yes." I try not to let too much show on my face. I really did. But Lily saw it anyway, because Lily saw everything. "Owen." "What?" "You look like someone just told you your house passed inspection." I cleared my throat and reached for the fitting. "That's a strong feeling." "You're glad." I said it sounds like a good deal. "No, contractor man. Say the actual thing." I looked at her then, coffee smell in the air, old brick behind her, June whining upstairs because she had been excluded from another major life event. "I'm extremely glad," I said. Her smile came slowly, and it hit me right in the chest. "But," she said, pointing at me, "I need you to hear this clearly. I'm not staying because of 1 kiss. I'm not staying because you fixed a pipe. I'm not staying because you're steady and kind and you know how to make terrifying basements sound less terrifying. I wasn't going to argue with any of that. I'm staying because when I pictured packing this place up, it felt like leaving myself again. That shut me up." She looked around the basement like she could see more than old shelves and rough walls. "This house is annoying. The stairs creak. The upstairs hall has that weird corner I still don't know what to do with. My garden is mostly mud and June's bad decisions. But it's mine. My clients are here. My routines are here. My life is here." Then her eyes came back to me. "And you're part of that life," she said. "Not the whole reason. A part." I nodded, because my throat had gone tight in a way I didn't trust. "That's the right way," I said. "I think so too." For a minute, neither of us moved. Then June barked upstairs, sharp and impatient. Lily laughed under her breath. She hates meaningful pauses. "She gets that from you. Careful." I know where your kitchen needs work. That's not a threat. That's a fact. She stood from the stair. Finish the pipe, Owen. Yes, ma'am. And after that, I picked up the torch, then glanced at her. After that, I'm taking you on a real date. Her eyebrows lifted. Are you asking or telling? Asking. Good. Lily, after I restore reliable water service to your home, would you like to go out with me? She leaned against the stair rail, trying and failing not to smile too much. Yes, but only because the phrasing was so romantic. I do my best work around utilities. The repair took another hour. Lily stayed nearby for most of it, disappearing once to take a call, then coming back with June, who sat at the top of the stairs like a supervisor with no license. When I finally turned the water back on, I checked every joint with a dry cloth. No hiss, no drip, no hidden shine of water forming under the pipe. Clean. Lily came down and stood beside me, looking at the new section. Permanent fix, she said. Permanent fix. But the way she said it made the words feel bigger than plumbing. That Friday, I took her to a small Thai place on Main Street where the tables were too close together and the food was better than the lighting. It wasn't fancy. That helped. Fancy would have made it feel like we were trying to prove something. We talked like people who already knew each other and were still surprised by how much they didn't know. She told me about her first design job, where she cried in a supply closet after a client rejected 3 weeks of work. I told her more about my divorce than I usually told anyone. Not all of it, just enough. She listened without trying to fix me, which meant more than she probably knew. After that, things changed, but not all at once. She took the Boston contract. She traveled twice that first month and sent me photos of hotel lobbies with messages like, "Too much marble. Pray for me." I sent back pictures of June lying on my porch like she had inherited it. When Lily came home, she came home happy. I built shelves in her basement. She redesigned my kitchen after claiming my cabinet handles were a personal attack on sighted people. I pretended to be offended, then let her choose new ones. She started keeping her favorite tea at my house. I started keeping dog treats by both doors. We didn't rush it. Maybe a younger version of me would have tried to lock it down fast, like speed could protect something good. Maybe a younger version of Lily would have mistaken intensity for certainty. But both of us had lived through relationships that asked for too much too soon and called it love. So we let it grow in ordinary ways. Our yard slowly became one yard. First with a gate in the fence for June. Then with garden beds that crossed the property line because Lily said straight borders were boring. My grill ended up on her patio more often than mine. Her porch blanket ended up over the back of my couch. People asked when we were moving in together. We shrugged until we didn't. One Sunday, almost a year after the pipe cracked, Lily stood in my kitchen making coffee while June slept in the doorway between us and the morning sun. "This is ridiculous," she said. "What is?" She waved one hand between my kitchen and the view of her house through the window. 2 kitchens. 1 life. Ridiculous. I looked at her over my mug. Is that an official design opinion? It is. A month later, she moved in. Not because Boston said no. Not because the house forced it. Not because one kiss made the decision for her. She moved in because she knew where she wanted to be. And now, whenever it rains hard enough to make the gutters chatter, Lily still looks over at me with that same bold little smile. Remember the night I asked if you were trying not to kiss me? I always tell her the truth. I was trying very hard.